Nope. We're waiting. We're
Maybe
waiting.
not.
There we
Some
go.
trick that Josh has.
It's a trick. It's a trade secret. But speaking of trade secrets, looks like your dog is working on her best trick behind you.
Oh, yes. Just flopped down on the floor. Yeah, she's doing well.
Excellent. Well, you missed the earlier show today. I'm assuming we did the DFS strategy show, and I debuted my "What Would Sean V Do" T-shirt.
Oh, did you
Yes.
actually got a T-shirt?
Yes, my wife has a little, they call it a cricket, but it's this printer thing. So she makes all sorts of t-shirts and aprons and little hand towels with sayings and nifty stuff on them. So she made me one that has "What would Sean V do?"
Well, the answer, I'm sure, is always the correct thing. That's what Sean V would do. Great picks always. He's in the chat, so hi, Sean. You're getting special shouts all over the place, buddy.
Yep, exactly. And he was there. I made sure he was going to be watching the show when I debuted that. I don't have it on now because I've changed since then. But it'll make appearances. My wife now, she says, "Gosh, I wish I wouldn't have done such a dark color. I may have to do a lighter one so you can read it on air." So there we are.
I love it. Well, hey, if you want to talk community, that's what we're building here. So welcome, guys. This is a live before lock show. Don't think we did an official slating. It's me and Emac today, Saturday. We're here for you guys. We got 8 games. Of course, that promo code live before lock. Use that now. It's the beginning of the show. Get half off your first month of any package at awesemo.com. All the ownership projections, rankings, a lineup builder, a lot of great tools out there. We also have Fantasy Cruncher Pro in the mix separately, but use that promo code live before lock for any package besides the ones with Fantasy Cruncher Pro. All right, Emac, what are we doing today? Pitching is a situation for me. I'm paying up today, and I usually don't like to pay up a pitcher. I like to get a little weird, like to get some the cheaper guys in there and hope for the best. Or should we go game by game? Actually, 8 games. I don't know. Let's jump around. Let's talk
We
about
can
pitching
jump
first.
around. We can take some questions and all
Yeah.
that stuff. You
Um.
and I will
Yeah,
both be constructing our lineups, but we're playing on DK. I did do some early slate stuff there on FanDuel. I've got some. I threw some cash games out on DK there in the $1 range. Anybody wants to jump in on those? Have some fun. And then we've got pitching, as you said. We kind of have to spend by default with Jake DeGrom at 11,000 in a phenomenal matchup going against the Miami Marlins. The only thing better than this would be if they were playing this game in Oracle Park. Now, that's not going to happen because neither of these teams are in Oracle. But other than that, this is a pretty good matchup. We know he's phenomenal. He's got a good track record. You have Garrett Cole at 10,700. The one concern we have with Cole is this will be the third time he has faced Texas this season, and I'm going off memory, but I think he has like a 9 ERA in the first 2 matchups. I forget all the particulars, but a little bit concerning there because he's at 10,700. We've got, but he would probably be my second choice for pitchers. Then we have 2 other heavy hitters going against each other. You have Max Scherzer at 10,004. But he is on the road in LA. I like Max a fair amount. Now, the bonus for Max is while he is on the road, he doesn't have to face the DH. So so depending on how you guys want to play that with Cole and with Max, we'll have to see. And then you have Walker Buehler, 9,500. Do we really want to pay 9,500 for Walker Buehler? Now, the one thing that we do want to talk about with my buddy Jay Walker, old Fan Vice days, coined the name Reston Dave Roberts, who often has a quick hook with his pitchers. Now, each of the last 4 times his pitchers have started, they've all gone 92 pitches or more. So that includes Rich Hill went, I forget, the other night he went like 99 or something like that. He's 39 years old. We've seen Kershaw go longer than you would expect, but everybody's going around 90 pitches. Now, that's no guarantee that he's not going to have a quick hook tonight, or if the perfect pinch hit spot comes up and there's runners on and he wants to do something and it's the 5th or 6th inning, Buehler could be pulled. But Buehler's pitched, above 90 innings or above 90 pitches each of his last 4 starts. So that lessens some of our concern there. We do have the Nationals lineup. They're getting a few of their guys back who are returning to be healthy. They have Anthony Rendon, who is back, and then Juan Soto is returning today. They're batting 4th and 3rd, respectively. And I must have missed this transaction, but Gerardo Parra, come on down, 2,600. I didn't even realize he was on the Nationals. And no, that 2,600 is not a FanDuel price. That's a DK price. So I'm sure he will be in a lot of lineups to help us facilitate spending on these pitchers, Chris. But the tough part is who's going to be our SP2? And we didn't even talk about there's a Coors Field game in the mix.
Sorry. There's a lot of man bun talk in the chat today. And also somebody saying that you should man bun your goatee like Captain Lou Albano.
There you go.
A funny thing. Sorry, I was distracted by that. But yeah, no. So I'm with you on the pitchers. So here's what I'm doing a pitcher today. I'm picking up for DeGrom. Your Garrett Cole point about the production he's given up. To be honest, I wasn't aware of that. I guess I did remember him getting shelled once, but I don't remember him having 3 bad outings. It does give me a little bit of pause, but I'm going DeGrom and Cole today. I think there's some value out there to get to them.
Okay.
These guys are so well represented in terms of Vegas. DeGrom, a 2.5 run total against. Obviously, Miami, we've talked about them ad nauseum. Pretty much every pitcher is going against Miami is going to be a popular top of the slate option every day. And now you're getting a guy with very elite stuff who's probably due for some positive regression, even statistically in terms of his output. So DeGrom, I think, looks great. And Cole, I think you could make an argument maybe Texas has his number, but I'm comfortable going to him because his stuff has been as good as anybody on the year. 16.3% swinging strike rate, getting 13.4 Ks per 9. So everything's there for him. And Texas does have some guys will strike out. They have a 25% aggregate K rate in their lineup today. So guys will give up some Ks to him. I like the spot for both those guys a lot. And the bottom tier of pitching, as I mentioned up top, is not that good. Like I can get to some Gausman. I can get to some John Gray. I'm willing to go to those guys. But I'm really not trying to, like Cole Stewart, I have some of, but he's so bad and a pretty decent likelihood of a win. But he doesn't miss bats. He doesn't get strikeouts. He has a decent probability of getting shelled based on what we've seen both this year and going back to last year. So I'm willing to pay the premium today. And I think that's the approach I want to go to, even though I imagine that actually might end up being a chalky approach because I just don't know who you want to go to at pitcher besides those guys.
And which were the two you're riding or dying with there?
DeGrom and Cole in particular for me. And I have a little bit of Scherzer and one of those guys too.
All right. I in my mind, I started thinking Cole Stewart, not Garrett Cole. So
no. Garrett Cole. Yeah.
Just wanted to double check that. So in Houston, in that Houston-Texas game, they do have Jesse Chavez is going to start out. And then, why am I blanking on the guy who's coming in after him? Anyway, they're doing an opener approach there. Oh, why don't I just look at the list? Drew Smiley. So they're going to do a righty-lefty approach here against Houston. Not really going to matter. Jose Altuve, I thought I saw a news blurb saying that he has a hamstring strain and is probably going to end up on the DL. So a slightly less formidable lineup here in Houston, but not one I really want to tangle with here. Aledmys Diaz is 3,500. He's okay at second base. He is batting ninth, but it's a little bit of salary relief, and he's an adequate player. Josh Reddick batting second gets a lineup bump from the bottom third of the lineup to the top third with Altuve out. I think he's intriguing at 3,700. Just kind of bouncing around there from Houston. They were probably my favorite stack tonight. We just got the doubleheader lineup in for Detroit and Minnesota, so we'll be updating our projections here shortly, and then I'll start running some crunches. But it looks like in that one, Nico Goodrum did not start the first game, but he is leading off. Christian Stewart, Castellano, Miggy, Ronnie Rodriguez, who had 2 home runs in the first game, John Hicks, Heimer Candelario, Grayson, Griner, and Jacoby Jones. Griner has allowed, I looked this up earlier this week, but he has allowed 15 stolen bases in his 22 starts behind the plate. Now, he may have had a couple more starts since then, but that bodes well for Byron Buxton if he can get on base. But it looks like Minnesota's coming out blazing here with Garver leading off. So there's an intriguing catcher option. But wait, he's 4,800. That's going to be a bit of a problem with all of this expensive pitching. But batting second is Marwin Gonzalez. He's first base. I wouldn't burn the position there on DK, but at 3,300 as an outfielder, put Parr in there with him, and you can look at the two spendy pitchers that you're considering there.
Yeah, like you mentioned, there is a ton of value there. And I think the Astros stack, I just want to circle back to that real fast because I got those guys a lot. It kind of worries me how owned we're expecting Tyler White to be because he's a guy who comes up a lot at projections. But I think he's got the pop. Like I think the bottom of the Houston order, a lot of the shows we have talked about it, but these guys, in the bottom of the order in general, you're not getting as many good hitters, but these all are guys with a over 100 WRC plus. Ledmys Diaz over 102, Robinson Chirinos 114, Tyler Wright 124. Versus a righty. So these are guys, Chavez isn't going to be there in the entire game, but These guys all look pretty good to me. And I think the value that the Houston stack can get to, if those top of the order guys don't go off, or if maybe it's just Josh Reddick getting the production out of that group, and then you get the other cheap guys in there, you're getting a high run total stack with not a lot of cost on it. And I think that does open up some stuff. Detroit side, I'm with you on that. Like I'm intrigued by these guys a little bit just because Cole Stewart's been so bad. I mean, pretty much all of his numbers, as far as I can tell, are bottom of the slate stuff this year. And he's only faced 27 batters in this season. But also going back to last year, not very impressive with a 6.8% chase rate. This year, 1.83 whip, 6.2 xFIP, 12 hits per nine allowed, 1.5 Ks per nine. Again, only 27 batters he's faced. But the stuff has not been good for Cole Stewart so far. The Tigers lineup, not very impressive, but these guys can get there if Stewart's just going to lay it up and they can just do whatever. It's going to be T-ball against Stewart based on what we've seen so far this year. So I don't know. There's a lot of cheap ways to get to the pitching. So I think that's what I've been focused on most about. What about some of the higher price stacks, EMAC? Which ones are you getting the most of?
I haven't pushed the button yet, so let's talk. I'm just downloading some new projections, but let's talk cheaper pitchers just for a second here because I can kind of do that and multitask. So the guys that are going to be under consideration for me, John Gray going against a heavy righty lineup here in Coors Field is interesting to me. I would normally have said Anthony Desclafani, but at 9,200, I'll have him some, but they've priced him appropriately for the matchup against the Giants. The Giants aren't that formidable. He is god awful against lefties, but we're talking about Panic, Stephen Vogt, Kung Fu Panda, Pablo Sandoval, and Crawford and Duggar. None of those guys really have pop. Stephen Vogt does a little bit. I like him as a catcher at 3,600. He's in my shell lineup. On the other side, you have Jeff Samardzija, and he has given up just 6 home runs. Well, he's given up 6 home runs this season, but they've all been on the road. And if we look back the last 3 years, so not counting this year, but the last 3 years, let me get my notes here. In his starts, he has 74 total starts. He's allowed 60 home runs, 44 on the road, just 16 at home. So just showing the dichotomy and how good of a park San Francisco really is at keeping home runs down, because you got a guy like Scherzer. This whole time he's been with San Francisco, he's been he's down to fastball basically only at this point. But that is an intriguing spot for him. Probably going to look to those guys on the late slate, the 2-gamer, because I am a degen and I'm playing everything today, including MMA. We have MMA projections up. Oh, and I'll drop the link in chat. Little promo. Alex, him as Awesemo. Alex Baker has made his NASCAR rankings free today. So for those of you that are playing NASCAR, keep in mind this is an impound race, which means all of the cars have to go through inspection. So they have technical inspection, or they call it going through tech. This is something they're doing on the Saturday night races for whatever reason, and then there's a few other races that are like this. So what they do is they have to pass inspection, and if they fail, they go to the back of the pack. They're scored from the back of the pack. So 10 cars failed inspection, which is just throwing everything out of whack because there's some really good drivers back there. So you're going to want to take a look at what Alex has coming up for that contest for us as well.
Yeah. And use that promo code Live Before Lock to get half off your first month of any of those packages. If you get an all-sport package, you get all these content. PGA content also has been doing well for people. NHL playoff content with Jake has been good. EMAC can testify to that. All that stuff going on. NBA too. So we have everything still going. And use that promo code Live Before Lock. All right, so let's see what I would just circle back to the Giants real fast. So I actually do think they're another value stack. It probably is worth talking a little bit more about. You mentioned Vogt. I mean, a very limited sample size, but he's hitting well versus lefties, and he has projected well in the minors as well. And DeSclafani. So DeSclafani is a guy I certainly don't want to pay 9,200 for him. I generally try to go against him every time because his lefty splits always jump off the page to me. Mm-hmm. And this Giants team isn't good. Pretty good across the board at hitting, but DeSclafani is just so bad versus lefties. It's a 1.56 whip compared to a 1.01 versus righties, 5.85 xFIP compared to a 3.7 xFIP versus righties. There's something to take advantage of there, and not probably the park factors that you want for him, and not the perfect spot, and not the team to take advantage. But I keep trying. I keep trying to go against DeSclafani, and one of these days it's going to pay off big time, I think.
Yeah, and Brandon Belt, not being in the lineup he'd be a guy that we'd really want to look to because he has first base outfield eligibility. But since he's not there, that kind of dampens some of my interest there. Just looking, let me get back over here to my shell lineup because I put in a bunch of value guys here that I wanted to call out. Riveting, I know, but I've got the fan on my computer going overtime here. I'm downloading projections. I got so many lineups. It takes just a moment for this to
Working
launch.
too hard for a Saturday, both you and the computer.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I've got Stephen Vogt is at 3,600. We've mentioned him. We've got let's see, Tyler White. You talked about him. He's 3,200. Robbie Cano is 3,500. JD Davis is 3,900, and I like him in this matchup against I say his name wrong. It's not Alcantara. And then I like $2,600 Gerardo Parra that we talked about as well. So if you're able to put those guys in, you can still get the better part of a premium stack if you're going with somebody like Gaussman or John Gray or one of those kind of in that $8,000 pitcher ranges.
Yeah, I have a shameful amount of Martin Maldonado and Chris Owings that came up in projections. And those guys, Maldonado is 2,400 on DK at catcher. I hate it. I wanted to get away from it as much as possible. He offers really little of any value at all. But I think this is a day where I'm willing to take a few flyers on cheap guys in the hopes that, maybe they knock one out, or maybe they just have a decent enough day where they can help me afford the pieces that I want to get to. So yeah, I think the value approach is one that I would advocate for as well today. Let's see what else we're looking at game wise. Oh, we talked about Washington a little bit up front. I want to circle back real fast because I don't think I chimed in enough on that. So Walker Buehler on the year, stuff just not looking that great. 8.7% hard or soft contact, which is very low. He's given up also giving up 44% hard contact, which is a lot. This national lineups people have been sleeping on, and I advocated for them the other day versus Rich Hill. The entire stack didn't go off, but parts of it did. I think it's a similar situation today where a mini stack of some of these guys here, like Eaton, Soto being back in the lineup. I don't love guys coming off the IL, but I think he's in a decent spot here of the lefty matchup. And I don't know. I'm intrigued by this Washington team again. I think people are going to sleep on them because you look at the season-long numbers. They're not that good. But you get Rendon back in there. You get Soto back in there. Eaton's been hitting well this year or well enough. I think they have guys now. And you mentioned Parra, too. If you want to go cheap, I don't think he's a great hitter, but he is very cheap. I think the stack overall could be one that people are sleeping on. And I don't know. Walker Buehler just doesn't seem like he has the stuff so far this year.
Interesting takes. I will not argue them.
Let's see, I'm checking the chat. Such a Nationals homer. I am not a homer. What do you mean?
I should be. Look, here's my ball cap. I got it right here. I've got a whole bunch on the wall over there. So.
I was gonna say you were wrong about them too. The last time I talked about them, they had 3 guys who had over 20 points. So I don't know what you're talking about.
And see, look, I have Legos. The national. My wife got this to me. It's got the little Nationals ballpark helmet.
Oh, yeah. You're the homer. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe he's confusing us.
It could be. I am partial to them, but they've been really disappointing this year. So.
Yeah, but I mean, they've also been hurt. I think, you really can't judge this lineup until we have everybody in there. And Dozier really, as an acquisition, hasn't done enough on the year. Yan Gomes also not really getting there. He was a guy who did underperform the other day. But, Rendon being in there, like Rendon is a fantastic hitter. I think people have slept on him at 4,400 today against the guy in Buehler who maybe doesn't have the same stuff this year. Buehler dominated the Braves last start. That's fine. I still don't think his stuff is overall numbers wise. The hard contact is a factor that I look at a lot. And when you face 146 batters and you're giving up almost 50% hard contact, that's a noteworthy thing to look at. And with a team like the Nationals, who are professional hitters and are getting healthy, I think it's a spot where they could have some value. Not a team I would load up on, but I think some exposure would be something I would want. Let's talk about the Colorado game, Emac. We kind of have actually, no, we really haven't hit on this at all. We got Joey Lucchesi on one side, John Gray on the other. I didn't get a ton of Padres for me, even though that 4.7 implied run total does seem like a spot where maybe you don't want to go to John Gray today, even though I do have a little bit of exposure there, and I trust his stuff. It's a high run total, which gives me some concern. The Colorado side, going against Joey Lucchesi, I didn't really get there a lot either. They're pretty pricey. Lucchesi, not great, but not bad enough that I'm super worried. I think Garrett Hampson's the guy I got the most of. Again, a value piece who opens some stuff up. What are you getting the most of out of this game? Or do you imagine you're going to get the most out of here, Emac?
I'm not really chasing after this one. I'm okay. Just going elsewhere. players I do like, and I'm building my baseline for tiers where we don't have to worry about salary. So it's kind of like a pick 'em over there on DK. So you pick 6 hitters, and they have groups for you to choose from. So tier 1 is Arenado for me. Tier 2 is Story, but that's where most of my exposure to this one is going to be. Is mainly those two guys. I'll take whatever I get as it comes in. I think Lucchesi is a good pitcher, but it's Coors Field, and that's not always the best spot for guys to go to play at, obviously. But it's a decent Rockies lineup, and that's Rockies at home are much, much better than Rockies on the road. Oops, Rocky Road ice cream. What?
One of my favorites.
Oh, I'm not a fan of it.
Really? The little marshmallow, the nuts.
No, I can't stand the nuts in it.
Oh, all right, fair enough. I like crunch, like a little crunch in there.
Yeah, but we've got Tin Roof Sundae. If I had to pick an ice cream, that would be probably the random one I would get. But Mark Reynolds, doesn't get a lot of contact, but when he does, the ball goes far. Ian Desmond, Pesky as hell. He's batting 5th. So the top 5 in this lineup are pretty tough, and that just could make for a long night here. Or a short night for Lucchesi. Is it Lucchesi?
I say Lucchesi, but I don't think he's actually an Italian man, so it's probably Lucchesi or something like that, or Lucchesi.
At one point, I looked it up, but I'm not aware of exactly what it is now. The other guy who's kind of interesting as a super cheapie is on pitching is Keller. He literally gives up no power. He has about 100 isolated power to both righties and lefties. Now, this is not an easy matchup for him, but 56 degrees here at first pitch in Kansas City. And Kansas City, it plays like a hitter's paradise when it's hot. But it's actually, Kauffman Stadium's actually, has a decent-sized outfield. So even though he is going against the Phillies here, I don't mind Keller.
Yeah, Keller, not a guy I really got to today. At the price, I get it. And, he's another guy.
Yep.
He's sort of a Wade Miley type, but this matchup is not what Wade Miley had the other day with, the Rangers are a bad team versus left-hand pitching. The Phillies are a team who's actually good versus right-hand pitching. It should be better. They're actually underperforming on the year based on their numbers going back to last year. So I wasn't certainly not trying to get to Keller myself. Yeah, I think honestly, I would probably rather go to I'd honestly rather go to Cole Stewart than go to Keller, that hurts to say. But I think this Philly lineup is starting to wake up a little bit. And the 4.7 run total, I think you mentioned the weather, that certainly doesn't help. But this team does have some guys who are maybe a little underperforming, due for some regression. And Rhys Hoskins actually going under the radar as a guy who's really having a fantastic year. 170 WRC plus on the year, 7% home run rate, 410 on base percentage. They're doing some stuff, and I think they're slowly going to get better. And Keller, even though he doesn't give up a lot of damage, he's not going to have much strikeout upside, only striking out 6.8 Ks per 9 this year, 6.3 going back to last year. It's a tough pitching slate, though, so I get it. What about the other side there with Zach Eflin? He's a guy who I don't mind going against. The lefties in this lineup in particular should have a good day versus Eflin. Eflin going back to last year, 1.5 whip versus lefties, allowing 10.4 hits per 9 to lefties, 4.1 home run rate. And they're going to be under-owned. None of these guys in the lineup, the highest owned guy in the lineup is going to be Ryan O'Hearn at 5%, it looks like. The Kansas City stack, the weather you mentioned, not the best, but Eflin hasn't shown a lot this year. And this Kansas City lineup overpriced, yeah, for sure. But they do have potential, and they have had some big days.
Let me think here. O'Hearn would be the guy for me. I'm fine with Mondesi, but probably O'Hearn would be where I'd want to start, and that's a first base spot, and there's some good first basemen tonight, but he does have a $3,600 price tag, so that makes it a reasonable option. If I was hand building, he would be the first guy I go to. Adalberto Mondesi at $5,400. Yikes, that is pretty spendy. Whit Merrifield at $5,200, similar, but that means that will suppress their popularity. So I'd kind of stick with those guys, but that's patchy. They're not adjacent to each other, which starts to cause a little bit of an issue if you're trying to stack. So perhaps these would be the guys that would appear in my 5-0 stacks or my 5-3s.
Yeah, Mondesi is a guy who I just got in some lineups. I had him in a few, and I got him in a couple more just now because of Polanco not being in. I think he's a good hitter. Like I think people kind of sleep on him. He does offer some steal upside. He does also have that power to hit home runs. I think he does a lot of good things that kind of get slept on. The price tag, though, not the most appealing, but in some lineups where you have money to burn, I think it's an okay spot to go to. And as I mentioned, I do have a stupid amount of Owings and Maldonado just because of price. And those guys I do not feel good about at all, but they're both under 3K on DraftKings. And if Eflin isn't good and there are guys on base, they'll at least have opportunity. So that's sort of what I'm hoping for. But really not a fun feeling to have those guys. And I already regret it now that I've said it out loud.
Regret's not supposed to happen until lock.
No, I know. And I could absolutely change it right now, but like the prices just work. And for the stacks I wanted to get to and the pitching I wanted to get to, which I really prioritize pitching today because it feels like that kind of slate to me, where there's such a lack of talent and the top is so top heavy that I think it might be the approach.
Yeah. Well, last night was kind of interesting because you literally could not pick a bad pitcher. I mean, like everybody seemingly came through that I had on my lineup. So this is more of a spendy night. I agree.
Yep.
And it's odd how it works out, but that's the fun part, the puzzle of DFS here.
This guy, Mark James, confusing me with somebody else. I was not on live before lock with Josh yesterday, so please stop being wrong.
That was that would be one Jake Hari.
Yes, we are different people, very different looking people, in fact.
Yes.
So,
Jake looks
it's okay.
like he's
it's your
about
right as an American to be wrong, Mark James.
Yeah, Jake looks like he's about 12. So
he does, and he doesn't have this lush man bun that I have going. So he is not a samurai nor a samurai's intern.
But he does follow the code of Bushido, or so I'm told.
as he should. There's a lot of honor in that code, Mac.
Yes.
All right, we're at the halfway point. Let's do home run picks. I don't know where we are with that because I wasn't out of pocket yesterday.
I did not get one yesterday. I was wrong. I went with Vlad Jr.
Let's see. Let me pull up the list. Let me see if these guys even put it on there.
It should be.
Okay. Let's see. Dong 2019. Here we go. The standings on the year. Oh, it hasn't been updated though. All right. Did Cole Calhoun or Bryce Harper get a home run yesterday? You know?
I don't remember. But let's look real quick.
Let's just assume no.
I'm gonna assume no.
We'll assume no. If you guys in the chat, you're all smart, you were playing yesterday. If Cole Calhoun or Bryce Harper hit home run yesterday, let us know in the chat and we'll update the sheet. But as of right now, currently in the lead, still Josh with 7. EMAC in a much smaller sample size, right behind him at 6. I'm in third at 4. Jake with 3 on the year, bringing up the rear. Can't pick the Nationals right. So that's, you know what, Mark James? Yeah, you're annoying. Take a timeout, buddy. Let's do it. All right. Well, who's going to be your picky, Mac? You're in second place. You're in the catbird seat. What are you doing?
I am going with George Springer.
Ooh, okay. That's a good one. George Springer. All right.
It was him or Mitch Garver.
Garver's good. I think Springer's the better pick. I would stick with that. All right. Soto does seem like the guy to go against here. So here's a question for you data-wise, but not to delay my answer, but also to delay my answer. Do you feel like, or do you know offhand, is there a material impact on hitters in a double header in the second half of it?
No, because you end up with some different issues with doubleheaders. Sometimes they're scheduled like this one. Sometimes they've gotten the night off before. It's probably a little worse when it's hot. If it's a split doubleheader, meaning they go in the morning and then at 1 o'clock and then at 7 or 8 o'clock, which they will sometimes on weekdays, then it's all over the board. So I would say probably not. Because, I mean, if you look at it this way, it's baseball. I mean, yeah, you got to be focused and on, but you're standing around half the time, in all honesty. So I wouldn't think there's a measurable difference.
All right. So now you've given me the reassurance I need. I'm going Nelson Cruz. I think that's
nice.
Yeah.
Now he's DHing both games. So for him, not a problem. It probably works in his favor because he's seen live pitching. I'm assuming he played in the first game today.
Yeah, I didn't play that slate, but one can only hope. Yeah, Cole Calhoun. Somebody saying Cole Calhoun hit a home run yesterday? Did he? No, he didn't. Don't lie in the chat. Don't make me give people incorrect credit for things. Bastards. Bryce Harper. I'm just double confirming. Cole Calhoun did not hit a home run yesterday. And Bryce Harper, just to double check, he also I don't think he did.
They only had one run.
So he would have been very responsible then. No home run for Bryce Harper. So we were right. So no home runs for Josh and Jake for yesterday. All right. There we go. Cole Calhoun. What? Why are they disagreeing? 2 days ago. Yeah, El Negro Loco, shut up. You're a dick. I'm laughing at you now, buddy. All right, let's go through here. So what else have we not touched on that you're going to imagine you're going to have some exposure to today, Matt? Because I've already made my lineups. I guess we haven't talked about this Arizona-Atlanta game, and there are people who want to have some interest here. I think the Arizona or the Atlanta bats are going to have some ownership on them. Arizona not going to have much their way. I like Gausman a little, but not a lot to get there a ton. I think price-wise he's great, but the matchup kind of gives me some pause. But what do you think you're going to have in this one, Emac?
For Arizona?
And Atlanta.
In Atlanta. So I actually wrote this up in my article for the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks, which is free. So let me get to that because there's some good stuff here. So I said, and this is what I wrote up with Merrill Kelly last time. So the roof's going to be open. It's going to be, I don't have that page up. It's going to be approaching in the upper 80s, I think, at first pitch. Let's double check that. It is going to be 83 at first pitch. So this is going to play like a hitter's park. Merrill Kelly spent 10 years not in the majors. So he was drafted out of high school. He was the 37th round selection, went to college for 2 years, was drafted in the 22nd round, went back to college, and then got drafted in the eighth round by Tampa Bay. He spent 5 years in their minor system, got as high as the Durham Bulls, never ended up pitching for them, then went to the Korean League and played 5 years in the Korean League. So he is a 30-year-old rookie. Now, for whatever reason, he ended up his fastball velocity increased during that time, so that had some people take notice of him and got him his moment in the show here. But let's see, he I said through a small sample size, he's very susceptible to opposite-handed hitters, but he also has power to right-handed hitters, so that can be a little bit tricky. One of the guys I considered for my home run call was Freddie Freeman, and I'm lamenting that I didn't go with him now, but I will stick with George Springer. But I like going against Kelly. I don't want any part of him. With regards to Gausman, I'm more interested in Gausman. His strikeout stuff is up. He's not facing the DH. He's not facing teams from the AL East. But this is not necessarily the best pitching environment at the moment. But I'm okay going with him as one of my second guys. So I'm downloading my contest to see how many lineups I need to build here. So we'll be crunching here momentarily, and I'll give some more information on that.
Yeah, so I'm with you. Acuna is a guy I think I have the most of, and he's also going to be the highest owned on the Atlanta side here. 24% projected ownership on DK, but the price works. 4,500 on there. That's sort of what you're going for. So I'm okay with that. Freeman, I didn't get too much of. I don't even know if I have any, but I do like the idea here of going against Kelly. I mean, he's been bad on the year, but going back to last year, or I guess his numbers were just this year. So yeah, there's really no reason I think to think he's going to get much better. His stuff is not great. He doesn't miss bats well. He's not a terrible pitcher. I think in a matchup with a team who isn't good, I wouldn't mind going with Kelly, but going against the Braves here, there's a lot of professional hitters, guys who don't really strike out. I think there's an argument to go to them. And I think we've talked about the Braves stacks in general. It does often feel like they don't collectively have big days as a full stack, but I think some of the one-offs, some of the 1-2 mans with Acuna, Freeman, maybe Swanson. I don't know that some people want to pay $4,400 for Swanson, but he's a guy who I don't mind. I think there's some ways to go there, which would be valuable. And Kelly, just his numbers on the year, 1.5 whip, 4.8 xFIP, 9.5 hits per 9 allowed, just 7.1 Ks per 9, and a 4.1% home run rate. So all the numbers should be there, and he does give up some production. And the Braves team can take advantage. And just real fast, touch on Gausman, because just to echo your points about his strikeout stuff, his strikeouts are up to 10 Ks per 9 this year from 7.7 last year, and a 13% swinging strike rate, 37% chase rate. Both those numbers are up as well. Maybe he'll be due for some regression, but I think the matchup, as Emac mentioned, that's a strong one. Getting the pitcher too. Pitcher strikes out 38% of the time. Alex Avila strikes out 38% of the time. Christian Walker has a ton of strikeouts. So there are guys who should give him some easy opportunities at strikeouts. And whether he takes advantage of them or not, who knows, because it is Kevin Gausman. But it's a nice spot.
It is amazing how much trouble doubleheaders give all of our systems. And I don't mean just awesome, I mean like across the board. You have to be very careful here. So make sure you've done an upload, because there's a few guys that are pulling in from different projection systems that aren't playing, or potentially aren't available if you're doing the tiers or other pick and pool contests. So just make sure you hit upload before the last second, just to make sure nothing is awry.
And also, guys, hit that like button real fast. It's a Saturday. We're here. It's been a long day for me, and I'm tired. So please hit the like button. All of your likes give us more energy to keep going through the show. So please hit that one. Helps the channel out. Helps keep the lights on. All right, let's go through looking for questions. If you have any questions, also drop them in the chat. Kevin Miller asking, Conforto is part of my Mets stack or one-off Reyes? I think we should talk about the Mets stack up top more just before getting into that specific question. Because I think that's a stack that we haven't talked about. And Sandy Alcantara, you talked about him briefly before, but he has given up some production this year. I think he's still got decent movement on his pitches. I think he still might be due for some better results, but the results have certainly not been there this year. He's not getting strikeouts. He's getting hit really hard, 9.6 hits per 9 on the year. Any interest in this Mets stack or any one-offs or anything like that?
Yes. So looking at these guys, Robbie Cano and JD Davis are pretty inexpensive, batting third and second respectively. Everybody else is relatively priced up. Brandon Nimmo, not a horrible one-off there. He does get the platoon advantage, and he does have some pop. But I think if I was going to stack these guys, I'd try to focus on the top 5 in the order. But if I went 4, 5, 7, I wouldn't lose any sleep over that at all. But those would be the guys I'd look to.
Yeah, I think McNeil's not the worst play in the world, hitting at leadoff with the 2% ownership on him. His price is up a little bit, but you can get on base here. And Alcantara does struggle versus lefties. 5.6, actually 5.7 xFIP compared to a 3.4 xFIP versus righties. So he's getting some production out to them. And McNeil's a guy I don't mind much. And Conforto too. I mean, the same thing. Lefty matchup is a solid one. Brandon Nimmo too is a guy we talked about a lot of the value up top. Nimmo is down in the order. He's not been great on the year, but not terrible. I don't know. There's maybe something up with him. But going back to last year, his numbers versus a righty are very strong. He's on base 402, 254 batting average isn't the best, but isolated power of 216, WRC plus of 145. Seems like there should be better days for Brandon Nimmo coming versus a righty pitcher. And if Alcantara doesn't get there today, doesn't figure his stuff out, I think Nimmo could certainly be a guy who benefits at a very, very cheap price on DraftKings.
Yes, I think that is fair to say.
Let's talk hedge stacks and leverage real fast, because I think there's a lot of ownership here. And to be honest, I didn't feel the need to leverage with any of the main guys or many of the main stacks going against the top pitchers. Like I don't want to go with Miami against DeGrom. That doesn't seem like it's going to be a profitable spot. You can make an argument for Texas against Cole, and your point earlier about how he's given up some runs and some production to them. I think that's a viable one, given that nobody's going to be owned on Texas' side. It looks like we have nobody above 5% in that entire lineup. But I like Cole a lot, and I think he's, due for a bounce back, I guess, if he's been terrible versus them this year overall. I didn't see much leverage that I wanted to go to a lot. I think Walker Buehler was the one spot I was willing to go against a little bit. But what are you thinking, Emac? Any spots that you want to leverage against for ownership reasons?
I would not hate Peterson or Bellinger going against Scherzer. The one thing you want to remember about Washington is they have one of the worst bullpens. It's almost as bad as Baltimore's, and that's something I think that we're losing sight of a lot, I haven't heard it talked about a lot, but theirs is pretty bad. So I actually
hadn't even noticed that. So you're bringing that to me, but just to give you the stats, because Emac does bring a really good point. They are the worst bullpen by a pretty wide margin, giving up 10.1 hits per 9, a 5.1 xFIP, and a 1.6 WHIP, all of which are towards the bottom of the slate. They've maybe been a little bit unlucky with their BABIP at 340, but you're right. They are as bad as anybody by actually a pretty wide margin.
Yeah, the other teams that are pretty bad, in addition to Baltimore, would be Milwaukee, which is wild considering how amazing their bullpen was last year.
Yeah, that seems fair. Okay, so this is something Zigbar fights. His name is too long, and I don't know why you have Kingdom Hearts 2 in there, buddy. But he's saying, I'm telling you, Spags, San Diego against Gray. He's talking about BVP going against John Gray, apparently favoring San Diego. BVP, not a stat we look at. Just in general, it's better to look at the overall performance versus whatever handed pitcher you're going against, because that's just more reflective of people's potential generally. There is some power in this lineup versus righties. So I could see going there in cores. I think I just like Gray. Like, I think Gray's a good pitcher, but hasn't been fantastic. He's given up hard contact. He misses some bats, but he's not a perfect pitcher. I don't know. Do you have any, or how much Padres do you think you're going to have?
Who's got the BVP?
So
here it is against Gray, the collective lineup. So we'll talk about this. The collective lineup's batting 237 with 5 home runs and 152 at bats. So there's a bunch of guys that aren't going to be a factor tonight. Travis Janikowski's 3 for 20. He's not in the lineup, or I don't think he is. So Will Myers is 11 for 28 with 2 home runs and 3 doubles. All right. Okay, that would be the one guy. He's also, arguably the best hitter there, right up with Manny Machado. Manny Machado's 3 for 10. Okay, if he goes 0 for 4 today or 2 for 4, that's going to wildly swing that one. Kinsler's hitless. Hosmer 3 for 16. So I don't know who he'd be thinking the BVP would be with. The amazing Hunter Renfroe does have 2 hits. They're both home runs. But that's
they're saying Renfroe in the chat.
Okay. Well, he's 2 for 3 with 2 home runs. Come on.
That's a very that's the Will Myers point. If he's got over 10, 2 for 3 is not the best.
If he goes 0 for 4 today, he'll then be 2 for 6.
Yeah, so that BVP could flip real fast for Renfroe.
BVP mattered with Paul Goldschmidt against Tim Lincecum. He was batting like 600 with like literally a million slugging and more home runs than strikeouts. That one mattered. None of the others matter.
Yeah, 2 home runs and 5 at bats. Okay, that's impressive, but I wouldn't say that's anything predictive or anything even close to it. That would be a bit of a step. Heineken, bro, get away from the cheap Bud. Cheap Bud Light is what I drink when I'm just like hanging out. It's like water. It goes down smoothly. I'm not getting too fancy today. Dodgers break the slate. That's an interesting question. I don't see it, I'm not a big believer in Max Scherzer blowing up that much. I think in general, if you could take a one-off against him, that's fine, because he'll give up a home run. Like, that's just what he does. Every game he's given up 1 home run. Maybe it's a 2-run. That's just what he does. Besides that, though, then he gets angry and pitches even better. This is not data, by the way. It's just me saying this. And but he hangs in there. He just keeps getting strikeouts. So I don't see a reason to leverage against Scherzer today. But with the Dodgers hitting versus right-hand pitching, you can make an argument for it. This lineup they're going to have today is a pretty strong one versus righties. And just on the year, they've been fantastic. I mean, 347 on base percentage, 213 ISO versus righties on the year. So look, I get going there, but Scherzer's stuff is so good. I'm just never really trying to stack against him. Would you go against him today, Mac?
No.
Really? Not at all, even though you're putting in a bunch of lineups?
Well, when I say no, it means, probably 5%. I try to make stands, so I try to get my favorite stacks up around 20% and such, but I don't think I will on that one today. I'm trying to figure out, somebody is not in. I've got 10 guys here in Fantasy Cruncher, and there are only 9 guys playing for the Twins. This is frustrating. Oh, let's go batting order. Garver. Got Marwin Gonzalez, Rosario, Crone, Kepler. It's Castro, I bet. Yep, okay, let me get him out of there. Nothing worse than having the wrong guys pop up in your crunches.
Oh, yeah. I was getting some weird dudes who I hadn't even heard of. Actually, let me see if I could find this guy. It was somebody on the Twins who was like, it's like Alex something, I think is what it was. I had no clue who that person was, and there was no way he was going to be like. Also, Lamonte Wade was coming up in an optimizer for me, who's also a Twin. Alex Kirilloff was coming up for me with a 6.3 projection on Fantasy Cruncher.
It sounds like he's potentially a hockey player.
That's true. That is not a baseball name. It's a good point. He would be a great one in one of your NHL showdown slates. All right, looking at questions. Is Blake Swihart good value? He's not a guy I think I have in anything today, but I'll look at him. I'll look him up.
Let's see, 3,300 switch hitter. I think he's okay.
Yeah, if you think Gausman, I would be more inclined to have him in a stack, I think, or at least a mini stack, because you want to see some production going against Gausman. There's not a ton of power for him. He's under the league average in terms of home run rate, but he's fine. I mean, look, honestly, I'm playing some really terrible guys today, so I have no moral higher ground here to tell you not to play Blake Swihart. Mm-hmm.
Why is Ryzan coming into our Zoom?
Who is?
Ryan.
Oh, our
That's
social
weird.
media, Ryan?
Oh. There we go.
Oh.
All right. Well, I didn't. I created a new link, and I thought I only shared it with you. Oh, good God. Who knows where I shared it?
Well,
there we go. I got rid of him.
No impromptu guests.
No.
What? Got a pick of door spags? I don't know what that means. Any Mondesi love? We talked about him before, but I have some Mondesi love today. He's a tough price to pay, but I like the matchup here. Eflin pretty bad versus lefties. I think it's a good spot for him. Actually, let me just. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I have no problem with that. Still don't know if this guy means with the door thing. Getting some notifications too here. Any chance Marisnik replaces Reddick once Texas switches to Smiley? What do you think about that, Emac? That's more of a strategical thing that you might have some thoughts on.
Let me go see. If I recall correctly, I think Reddick is actually okay in lefty-lefty matchups, but let's take a peek here. He is, yeah. Oh, that's against righties. Let me put him here against a lefty. Reddick, no, he won't. He's got a 350 WOBA and a 235 isolated power in his last 164 at bats. So, no. And generally, I don't think so. I don't think so. I like the thought and I like considering it, but Reddick's one of those guys that I would say if Marisnik was in, he would, and they were starting a lefty and flipping to a righty, he would be a risk to get pinch hit for. But I'd be fine with playing Reddick.
I feel like him being in a 2-hole, like that seems less likely to get swapped. I don't know that with any sort of concrete thought, but I would feel like it would be less inclined to swap a guy out who's hitting second.
Yeah, Cleveland used to do that. They used to put guys in the 2, 3, 4, 5 spot when they'd get some 2 and 3 years ago. They had some really good guys either against lefties or against righties. But as soon as the guy was gone, they'd pull him. And their thought was, well, we want him higher in the order because we want him to at least get 2 at bats against this pitcher because it's favorable. So there's arguments both ways, but I would agree. It's like, Reddick's still okay in the field. I'm assuming he's in the field tonight, not DHing. And then he's also better against lefties than he is righties.
Our guy Jake Kelly 13 asking the premium Slack. And if you're not a part of the premium Slack, use the promo code live before lock to get half off your first month of any Awesemo.com package. All of them include premium Slack access, which is a ton of stuff, including the office hours, which has been actually interesting to read. Like I enjoy EMAC when you do them. And I think it's been interesting, but Ship My Money, I think has had some good talks. Josh also has had some really good talks in there in the office hours premium chat. So use that promo code live before lock, get in there, get your questions answered, and get in the office hours. Jake Kelly 13 asking, do you think a lot of gray in GPP is plausible so that I can get to expensive bats to be contrarian, assuming everybody's going to stud pitchers, or am I overthinking it? Well, why don't you give your thoughts first, EMAC? Would you say that going to gray a lot would be overthinking it instead of the other stud pitchers?
Here is my breakdown of my 4-4 stacks. I just ran 100 lineups. I got 65% DeGrom, 30% Scherzer, 25% Cole, which is where I had him capped. I think we might be a little aggressive with him from that standpoint, but I'm okay with it. 16% Bueller, 15% Gausman, 12% Desclafani. I only have 7% of John Gray. I don't hate it, but I don't. You're going to be, what is our popularity for Gray? He's only 9%. So, I mean, everybody's going to Grom, Cole, and Scherzer. Those are by far the top 3 most popular plays. So if one of them fails and Gray does okay, you would be, vaulting up in theory over a third of the field. So, I mean, there's some pretty significant leverage there. It depends what you can do with your hitters. We've pointed out a few cheapies, but if you were trying to go, like say you went Gray and went more with Colorado, or you went Gray and maybe worked in some of those top 3 or 4 guys on Kansas City, that would be where I would try to do it. I try to go with a less popular stack with that are more expensive. So not necessarily Colorado because they're on everybody's radar whenever they're at home, but like going with Kansas City might be a way to do it, or the Twins. getting a real spendy Garver down through Nelson Cruz would be one way to do it.
Yeah. I think for me, I think it's overthinking it a little bit. Like I think DeGrom's in a great spot. I think that, Scherzer's in an okay spot. I worry about the Dodgers. They are just really good. And I'm a little bit less worried about Cole, even though his lack of success versus the Texas this year does give me a little bit of pause, but I'm still riding with him at a pretty high volume. I'm just inclined to pay up today. Like I think Gray's an okay pitcher. 4.7 runs is a bit high. I was into Herman Marquez yesterday, and I think that was sort of a good spot, but he still didn't really perform that great. And he had less run total, less runs against him. And he's a much better pitcher in terms of swinging strike rate and getting those Ks. And Gray's just giving up some hard contact this year. And just in general does give up some hard contact. So I have legitimate concerns for Gray today that I didn't have for Marquez, and Marquez didn't get there. So I'm sort of inclined to not go to Gray. I know that's not how baseball works, but that's just been my thought process for the day. But, the price works. I get it. I just wouldn't go crazy.
All right.
Oh, he says the follow-up, plugging in Gray gets me stacks of Arizona, Atlanta, Colorado, and Houston.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's
a trade-off. Fine. I just wouldn't go like 50% Gray. That seems like a lot of Gray. But like if you want to go double the field on Gray, even triple, go for it. I think a 10% ownership or slightly under that, that's fine. But I just wouldn't ignore DeGrom and Cole and Scherzer to a slightly lesser extent.
All right. Well, now I know why Renpack was coming in. I was the one that tweeted out the Zoom link. We've deleted it, but I tweeted it instead of well,
so anybody could have just joined the show.
Anybody could have joined the show. Yeah.
That's why you got to follow at EMAC DFS on Twitter so you can know the next time that you get a shot to just join us on the show.
Woo, that could have been a tough one there.
We used to have last year we would do it where if somebody had won a tournament over whatever, like I think it was 10,000 people in it, we had them on the show for a guest spot just to talk with them. And we kind of just didn't have enough time to do it at a certain point. I think once we acquired all the FanVice guys, including yourself included, of course, we kind of got away from that. But it was always fun. Those guys were interesting. And we had a lot of winners who were happy to do it. And we had a queue built up. So maybe that's just the way we do it now. We'll just tweet out a link and anybody who pops in, go for it. That's hilarious. That's a first too, EMAC.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. But anyway, yeah, that was a little embarrassing there. But sorry, just doing some more crunches now. So now I'm doing my 5-3, so we'll see what pops up, and then I'll do my 5-5s and then get my stuff loaded. Lock is at 7:10 tonight, so we have the extra 5 minutes here, which I am currently going to need, and then I will be racing right back into doing NASCAR. Load all those projections and get my lineups built. But I wanted to give a shout out to Stingers 22. He's one of our YouTube or one of our Osmo Premium members here. He's not on Twitter, but he took down the quarter arcade on DraftKings last night. So he has won himself an additional free month of Osmo Premium. So good for him. And if you guys want to join, you can go look at the Osmo tweet, and I'll drop the link here in the chat. But there's details on if you are rocking the Osmo avatar and you finish first, second, or third in a contest with 5,000 or more people, and you have the Osmo avatar, you follow the instructions to tweet it out, you too can get yourself a free month of full premium access. That does not include the Fantasy Cruncher add-on.
And also Frank Vogel, the new Lakers coach. So that's an interesting one. Ty Lue really blew that one.
Yeah, Ty Lue. Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah, well, he was like butthurt that they didn't want to have him around if LeBron wasn't there, but and they wanted Jason Kidd on the staff, but just like you're Ty Lue, your only reason that you're getting job offers is because of LeBron. I would just suck it up, but the ego sometimes. Kind of a dick move to a former Laker. I feel like give him a little more respect. Ryan Buchanan asking, is a 2-4-6-8 stack counterproductive? It's not counterproductive because each at bat that would be successful in that stack would still give another at bat to another guy. I might be less inclined, or I might be more inclined rather to skip one less guy, like, a 2-4-6-7 or a 2-4, something, similar to that. But it's not, there's nothing wrong with it fundamentally. It's just, you're kind of increasing the chance that you get 3 guys out there because like the 3-man can get out, the 5-man can get out, the 7-man can get out, and then that inning's over. So it's maybe not the perfect way to approach that. Talk late slate a bit. Emac, you play every slate. You playing any late slate today?
Of course I am.
What would be your approach for that if you're going to be a late slate boy?
So that's another good one. Great question. I've got my so I do the spotlight hitters and stacks article. I will drop this. I try to do one team for each of the slates. So it gets a little thin on the night slate. So I'll be talking about teams that you may need to take different approaches. So for my late slate, I said the left-handed hitters in Oracle Park, and we kind of hit upon the fact that Descalfani is not good against lefties, and that would be where I would want to target Samardzija as well if I was going there. Stephen Vogt would probably be my favorite amongst everybody. Let me get over there. I think Dietrich was in the lineup tonight. Let's see. Too many windows. Let's see. So on the late slate, you're probably going to want to get Scherzer as your pitcher. Leveraging against him with Peterson or Bellinger, I have zero problem with, and I'd probably encourage it. Just because some people will try not to do that. On a four-game slate where you have to pick 2 of the 4 pitchers, you're going to play 2 or 3 hitters against your guys. It's just how it works. Votto just doesn't seem to have power anymore, but Jesse Winker and Derek Dietrich batting 4th and 6th, those would be 2 core guys for my build. They're not cheap, but Dietrich does have second base eligibility, which is nice. And then if I was trying to go, so my sort of shell lineup would be Vogt, Winker, Dietrich. I'd probably go with Peterson, and then I'm going to have to get some cheap guys in there. So Para, Dozier would probably come into play as well, because I would be spending on the pitchers. I would probably go Scherzer 1, Descalfani 2. And I haven't built those lineups yet, but that's going to leave minimal dollars for your bats. And there's not a lot of guys to go to.
On a late slate, I would give more of a shot. I'm doing it on the main slate, so look, I'm fully on board with this approach. But I would give a thought to the lefties and that San Francisco lineup. I think just because of DeSclafani's splits and just the fact that he's maybe pitched a little bit above his head this year. I mean, like his strikeout numbers seem a little bit high. And you know, I think I make this argument because I don't like him as a pitcher that much, and I'm advocating that his numbers are going to come down. His numbers have been good on the year. He's had an improvement in hits per 9. He's had 6.8 hits per 9 on the year, which is down from 8.6 last year. 10.7 Ks per 9, which is up from 9 Ks per 9 last year. Home run rate's down to 3.9%, which is still above league average, compared to 4.7% last year. So he's done some good stuff, but the fly balls, still giving up a ton of fly balls, 48% fly balls this year. I just don't think DeSclafani is as good as the results have been this year, but I beat that drum a lot, and he does often hurt me. But I think for a night slate, I would take a shot on the lefties and switch hitters on San Francisco because I think they'll be undervalued. They're cheap, and then you can afford Scherzer. You can afford, I guess I would go Scherzer and Bueller. Ugh, that feels pretty ugly too. Yeah, pitcher wouldn't be fun. I wouldn't play the late slate personally. Let's see. But if you are playing the late slate, use that promo code live before lock because we do have the best night slate ownership projections around. Really does help a lot. And honestly, our management team really some of the best players in the world at late slates and individual slates like that. So get that advantage. Use that promo code live before lock. Senzel leading off again and just keeps raking. I'm not crazy about Senzel because his righty splits have been much tougher so far. So I'm not super encouraged. Only 28 at bats, but a 160 batting average versus righties, 250 on base percentage. Still has the power, but 59 WRC plus. I like him a lot versus lefties. He's been raking versus lefties, but versus righties, he's had some problems that should level out a little bit. But not crazy about Senzel based upon what we've seen so far versus righties. All right, what do we got question-wise? Anything else? People in the premium Slack right now posting GIF reminders of the last time DeGrom pitched versus Cincinnati and how angry they were. So maybe a good reason to go to DeGrom. Who's going to go for Detroit after Soto? You know that?
I do not. I didn't study up on who.
I don't think he's an opener. Game. I think he's getting a full stint.
So he's up from the minors. He's got, going off memory here, I think he's got a dozen innings above single A. So he's the guy that came up as the 26th man today, as part of the doubleheader where you can expand your roster by one pitcher to help you out. So that I think is you know, an indication that he'll probably go as long as he can, but that may only be 5 innings. So I didn't look and see who was used in the bullpen earlier today, but that would impact who could be coming in.
Yeah, and generally you would only know for the most part who's coming in after a pitcher if he were like a declared opener or somebody of that criteria. And even that isn't Chavez an opener today? And I don't know who's going after.
Drew Smiley's coming in.
Oh, sorry. We talked about that. My bad. So normally you would know that if we have an actual opener, but yes, Soto, I think the expectation is, I mean, he's definitely not going deep, but I think he's probably going for 3 or 4 innings unless he gets absolutely obliterated, which certainly not impossible, but he's supposed to be a regular starting pitcher, I think, even though he's probably not super stretched out and able to go deep. All right. George Springer, best top hitter, guys. That's a question for you, Emac. You picked him for your home run.
Picked him for my home run. I'm rolling with him. I feel confident with him. I'm just seeing if I can get him in my cash game lineup here. Ooh, there's a nice one. So here's an interesting one. DeGrom and Scherzer is where I want to go. Tucker Barnhart, Joey Votto, Dozier, Arenado, Crawford, Castellanos, Puig, and Parra. That's an interesting one.
Good value. Lots of the value we talked about.
And yeah, I mean to get those 2 pitchers is going to be a bit of a trick.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Let me see here. I'm going to go. I was doing a 3-man stack. I'll try it here with the 2-man stack.
L. Johnson asking, is Pineda in or is he a projected long reliever? Let me see.
Pitch earlier. Why am I blanking on that? Didn't we talk about Pineda? I see. This is where I get lost because I do the Early Bird podcast and it mucks with me. Sorry. Let me go look at that game. That'll ideally jog my memory. So Pineda pitched in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
So and he gave up 3 home runs. So he's not going to play.
Bring him back out.
Yeah. If you're looking at some of the optimizers and projections, they're having some problems where they're listing Turnbull and Pineda. Those guys went earlier today, so get those guys out.
Yeah, that was what I thought because I took them out of my first when I was porting over from Fantasy Cruncher to my sheet, and I thought that Pineda was not ruled out, but had already pitched. But thought maybe I missed something there.
Oh,
all right.
Going with Stephen Vogt in cash. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to say goodbye to Emacs dollars.
Oh, we don't want to say goodbye to Emacs dollars. I got a $5 bonus from DK today, which I was pretty happy with.
How did you get that?
It just with the hidden achievement or daily achievements thing, it just gave me $5 for the daily thing.
Nice.
Yeah, they do. If you don't do that, by the way, go on the app every day. This is probably a small thing, but I know Emacs talked before about the achievements, which actually I started to look at more after you mentioned it, because that is an easy way to rack up some crowns, get some more entries and all that. I think that also, by the way, I was thinking about it after we talked about it. Remember that tournament that we both got into?
Yeah.
I think that's because we're both doing the achievement stuff.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Interesting.
I would do my guess.
Hey, I made $2,500 in that tournament. So
yeah, that was a great tournament for you. I was happy with the fact I couldn't possibly lose money. I won 200 that day or something. But even if I was in last place, I would have made 50, which the best kind of tournament. They should do more of those.
All right. I'm decided to go with Maldonado, your guy.
Oh, there we go. He comes up a lot with our projections. He's terrible. But if he gets you 6 points at 2,400, maybe that's enough. It's an ugly day, Mac. It's an ugly day, catcher.
Yikes.
I have issues with your projected ownerships based on the slate. Should I DM someone on Twitter? I don't know whatever the issues are. If it's a support issue, do it on the premium Slack. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, if you're a member, do it on premium Slack. Reach out to one of us. If you're, you'd have to be a premium member to have that. You can also email support@osmo.com. But if you want to ping one of us, we can get it to the right person.
Yeah. But if your issue is the ownership sucks, that's probably not the best.
Then I would send into something to support@osmo.com and lay out your reasoning, because you can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Feedback's always welcome.
Or you just not, you keep it to yourself, buddy. No, yeah, that's probably the right way to do it. But the Slack probably going to get you the fastest answer in the customer support channel if you have an actual serious issue with that. Jeff Mathis good for 5 DK points at 2,100. Yep, that's a good target score for Jeff Mathis. It's not for a tournament winning lineup, but look, you got to do what you got to do. If he gets home run today somehow versus Garrett Cole, you get the leverage of all leverage with Jeff Mathis. Oof, Jeff Mathis is terrible. Emac, want to play a quick game? Guess
Sure.
Jeff Mathis' WRC plus on the year.
70.
3.
3 as in 0-3?
Yes, it's in the number 3. Yeah, not a great hitter. Also,
all my
on the
lineups
year,
are uploaded. Woo! There we
also
go.
on the year, just one other fun fact: Ronald Odor only an 18 WRC plus on the year. It's just funny because he's been chalked so many days.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'll have to look again at that, what they put into that formula, but it could be, creating a certain number of outs. It's a whole set of things. And it does neutralize for park factor, so maybe he was, hitting where he should have or was, supposed to be. I don't know. I'm not making sense, but it's all right.
Hold on. This guy's asking for premium Slack. Let me see if I can find the link for you, sir. If you want to fill the air for a second, I'll get
Sure. And when you're signing up for Slack, you usually get a welcome email. But if you don't, you need to remember that it's your same email and password that you used to sign up for Osmo. Sometimes we run into trouble because people have 2 different emails that they're using, one for signing up for Osmo and then one that they use regularly. If those don't match, you won't have access to Slack. That's the most common problem we run into for that one. But just throwing it out there. Again, we've got NHL starting at 8. You've got NASCAR starting in 22 minutes. You've got the free, I'm going to post that for everybody. You got Alex's free rankings today that he put up there, which they're kind of helpful to utilize. So let me put that in Slack for everybody.
And if you are a person who has a premium membership, but you're not in the premium Slack, I just dropped the link into the chat to do that. So go click that link. Also, Emac dropped in the NASCAR projections, so check that out as well. But yeah, here we go. Emac, who wins NASCAR? That's what Shane's asking.
Probably Harvick or Kyle Busch would be my guess.
Who wins
Potentially Jimmy Johnson. Potentially Jimmy Johnson, because he's my favorite driver.
Sorry, not to change the topic to something I want to talk about, but who wins the Game 7s tomorrow, Emac?
I think it's going to be Toronto. I was so disappointed in last night's game. So disappointed. And I think I'm rooting for Portland.
I think it's Toronto and Denver. I think it's both home teams take it. I'm shocked that Denver has allowed Portland to win 3 games. I thought they had the talent on them and the
without Nurkic, it's like,
yeah,
wow, did not see that one coming.
I mean, Collins and Hood have been playing out of their minds, but role players play better at home. This is something which, by the way, I've been playing a lot in the playoffs, and I actually should probably put it in content. But role players at home have generally been a profitable approach, and that is just a general ethos that role players are always better at home. But if you're not getting that performance out of Hood and Collins on the road tomorrow, I think they're boned because they've covered Lillard and now McCollum about as well as you can. And I don't know. But Toronto, I think, is just a class. But I think whoever goes out of that Toronto-Philly series is losing to Milwaukee. Milwaukee is like a team of destiny right now, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to see Giannis in the finals. That'd be pretty cool. All right, we're at lock, and I got to get out of here to do NASCAR. But there will be a show tomorrow. It's me and Adam. I'm going to say we're probably going to go at 11 o'clock or 11:15. That'll be a little later than what you're used to on Sundays when I'm with Josh and we go at 10. But trying to ship my modem on a show at 10 on a weekend is not always the easiest feat. But we'll get that posted. And, of course, follow the Osmo Twitter. You'll note when we go live. Perhaps I will send the Zoom room link out again, and you can join us. We'll do a 3-man booth.
Yeah, it's a good reason to follow Emac DFS on Twitter. Follow Chris Fags on Twitter. Follow us both. And then who knows when a Zoom link will surprisingly go out.
All right. With that, gamers, we're getting on out of here. So good luck.